Hello, I am Chaitanya Davé. I am a social and political activist and I am an environmentalist. I have traveled all over the world and I have written 3 books: Crimes Against Humanity, a shocking history of US crimes since 1776, Collapse, Civilization on the Brink, and the third one is Monumental Shift, creating a new economy with genuine democracy. Today I am going to talk to you about corporate crimes. Mega corporations, major corporations of United States. By the way, I live in the United States in California for many years. Major corporations from United States and Europe and even China, they are going all over the world, and including Canada and Australia. They are going all over the world extracting resources from other countries, exploiting their labor, and in the process polluting the environment, polluting the oceans, the rivers, the lakes, the atmosphere, and cutting forests. And all that is creating climate change. They are most responsible for creating climate change, and climate change, as you know, is the greatest threat facing human civilization. Unless we do something about it, the human civilization is doomed. Now let me talk to you about these corporate criminals. Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola and Nestle. These 3 companies are the biggest plastic polluters in the world. Coca-Cola, for example, manufactures 110 billion bottles a year. That comes to 200,000 bottles, plastic bottles per minute. That comes to 3,400 plastic bottles per second. They manufacture this, put their variety of products. They have 12,000 products. They are selling in 37 countries, and many times these bottles are polluting the cities such as Lagos, Jakarta, Manila, Mumbai. The streets of these cities are littered with these bottles, and a lot of these bottles find their way in the ocean. 3 million tons of plastic packaging a year as of 2019 is made, and a lot of it is littering the streets of many capitals of the world. Pepsi-Cola is another big polluter, like Coca-Cola, selling its sugary liquids to millions of people around the world in plastic bottles. And Nestle, which is a Swiss company. And Nestle is a huge producer of a variety of products such as baby formula, Nescafe coffee, drinking water, chocolates, L'Oreal, dog food. All this is packaged in plastics, and it sells these products all over the world. And its chocolate comes from Ivory Coast, where they use slave labor of young boys 10 to 15 years old and produce this cocoa, which Nestle buys from them, knowing all these things. They do all these things only for one reason: profit over people at the expense of the environment. This plastic that finds its way in the ocean, you find in the bellies of ocean creatures such as turtle, whales, fish, etc. Plastic bottles, plastic caps, plastic bags, and they die by the millions. This plastic that finds its way in the ocean gets crushed into tiny little pieces and these creatures unknowingly swallow this, and millions of them are dying. So these three companies are the biggest polluter of plastic. So question is, what can you do about that? The number one thing you can do is to boycott their products and start using something else instead. Another big corporate criminal is Lockheed Martin. That's an American company. It's a global giant. It's a leader of industry of death. It manufactures arms, killing machines. It's the biggest killing weapons manufacturer in the world. It's a global giant supporting Israeli war of crimes. Since in 2016, it made $43.4 billion in arms sales. And its CEO makes $20 million a year in selling these arms. Since 1971, it's selling a variety of arms to Israel, arms such as fighter jets, Apache helicopters, Hellfire missiles, and Israel is using these killing machines to suppress Palestinians, and it kills them by the thousands since 1967 war. It kills civilians and children in Gaza and Lebanon using Lockheed Martin's arms. Also, Lockheed Martin sells these arms to dictators of Egypt and Saudi Arabia. Currently, Saudi Arabia is at war, an immoral and illegal war on Yemen, and it has killed thousands of civilians over there using Lockheed Martin's arms. Lockheed Martin is the number one supplier. It supplies 500-pound laser-guided bombs to Saudi Arabia, which Saudi Arabia is using to kill thousands of civilians in Yemen. Another big corporate criminal is Monsanto Chemical, which is purchased by Bayer Chemical of Germany. Monsanto is the world's largest producer of genetically modified crops, GMO. It's a manufacturer of Agent Orange, which is a deadly poison. It is a manufacturer of herbicide called Roundup. And Roundup is proven to cause cancer. It is banned in Germany, but is widely used in America. You go to Home Depot and other suppliers, you see hundreds of bottles of 1-gallon bottles of Roundup, which is being used by people here. Also, Monsanto Chemical manufactures neonicotinoids. They are linked to billions of bees dying. That's a weed killer. No, I'm sorry, that is a pesticide that is used widely in this country and around the world, and it has killed bees by the billions, and the bees are very important for human civilization. They are the pollinators of fruits and vegetables. If there are no bees, we will not get fruits and vegetables. Green America reports that environmental cost of GMO seeds is the destruction of ecosystems, eradication of important pollinators, superweed creation and pest development, and soil degradation. Now, Dow Chemical, there is another corporate criminal. Dow Chemical was the manufacturer of Agent Orange by a huge quantity. During Vietnam War, it supplied the Agent Orange to US government. US government used 21 million gallons of Agent Orange on people of Vietnam. It killed thousands of Vietnamese and sickened hundreds of thousands of them. There are 500,000 deformed children of this war, of the people who used this Agent Orange, who were injured by the Agent Orange. Their children are having deformity because it passes through generation. And Dow Chemical is the parent company of Union Carbide, which in 1984 had an accident in Bhopal, India, and that killed 25,000 people. And it paid very little compensation, just $470 million, while Indian government had asked for $3.3 billion, but it refused. So these criminals, corporate criminals, commit their crime and get away with it. I'm going to talk to you about opioid crisis. In this country since 2006, hundreds of thousands of people have died by overdose of opioid drugs, which is supposed to be a painkiller, but it has been pushed by several pharmaceutical companies as a safe drug, even though they knew that it is a habit forming and it is toxic and it can kill people. And they pushed this drug by the millions. 76 billion opioid pills were sold between 2006 and 2012. 47,000 Americans died just in 2018, many before that. Between 2008 and 2012, Mallinckrodt Pharmaceuticals flooded Florida, state of Florida, with this pain-killing drug. 500 million of drugs were sold there to a population of 20 million people. In other words, 25 pills per person. And it killed thousands. And finally, it was fined only $2.4 million, which is nothing, which is equivalent to 1 week of revenue for that company. In Oklahoma, state of Oklahoma, Johnson & Johnson, Teva Pharmaceutical, Purdue Pharmaceutical aggressively marketed this drug while downplaying its addiction risk. Thousands died in the state of Oklahoma and also many other states in America. And these companies get away with this. I don't know what the US government is doing. It's not protecting its people. And when a government cannot protect its people, it becomes a failed state. Another corporate criminal is Royal Dutch Shell and Chevron. Royal Dutch Shell, as of 2018, is the biggest oil and gas product company in the world. And it has said that it is going to continue 80% of its current oil reserve, using it, extracting it, until 2030, defying climate change. It's heavily involved in Canadian tar sands, which is, that oil is highly polluting. It owns 60% of huge Athabasca oil sands in Alberta, Canada. It has a horrible record in Nigeria. Few years ago, Shell was there extracting oil and it continued, leaving a trail of oil spills, gas flaring, water contamination, human rights abuses and destruction since 1990s. It has bribed and supported Nigerian military dictators. This is what they do. They bribe the military dictators in other countries. That resulted in the murder of a great activist in 1994 named Ken Saro-Wiwa. So these companies go there, extract the oil, pollute the environment, pay a little fine and get away, destroying lives of thousands of native people in other countries, whether Africa, Asia, Latin America. Chevron Chemical. It's a huge corporate criminal. Second largest oil company in USA after ExxonMobil. It owns Texaco Oil Company between 1960 and early 1990s. It heavily polluted Amazon forest in Ecuador. It dumped 18 billion gallons of heavily polluted water into Amazon waterways. It spilled 17 million gallons of crude oil there and polluted huge area of Amazon rainforest, destroyed lives of thousands of Amazonian people. In 2003, Ecuadorian court sued Chevron for $8.6 billion. It won the case in 2011, but Chevron refused to pay, went to International Tribunal in Hague, and as usual the corporations win many times. So Chevron won the case against Ecuador. And not only that, it asked Ecuador to pay compensation to Chevron for lost profit. That's how it works under capitalism. Chevron also devastated vast areas of Nigeria, extracting oil. It devastated 1,000 kilometers of Niger Delta. It had it had 250 oil spills per year. So that's what they do. Let's go to Tyson Foods. That's an American food company. It's the largest meat producer in the world. It pollutes environment at unparalleled level. It dumped 104 million pounds of pollutants in US waterways between 2010 and 2014. 104 million pounds of pollutants. That is the second largest toxic discharge by any company, higher than Dow Chemical, Koch Industry, ExxonMobil. Tyson produces 55.289 million tons of manure per year. It processes hundreds of thousands of cows and chicken, and the manure produced by these cows is dumped into the nearby waterways. It pollutes in two ways: through fertilizer used by farmers to grow feed for animals. This fertilizer is used and all that remaining fertilizer finds its way into the waterways and pollutes it. It also pollutes through manure produced by raising thousands of animals in factory farms. The manure also goes in the waterways. Tyson confines hundreds of thousands of chicken in large overpacked factory facilities under horrendous conditions. And it generates toxic amounts of chicken waste that pour into running water sources nearby. So it's a huge polluter. Another big corporate criminal, Walmart Corporation, is the biggest retailer in the world. It employs hundreds of thousands of people. It is involved in wage theft, boosting profits by forcing employees to work off the clock, cheating them of their overtime pay. Employees are asked to work beyond 8 hours and that work is not counted. They are not allowed to punch the clock, and all that work is taken away by Walmart. They are not paid for that extra work. They are cheating thousands of employees. It is number one offender of this. Number two offender is FedEx, does the similar thing. It is notoriously anti-union. It pays low wages, $10 an hour, which is not a living wage in America. For example, Denmark a very equitable country, pays $22 an hour minimum wage. So you can compare. Many of its workers, because they can't afford to live on $10 an hour wage, they depend on government subsidy, government handout. Many of their workers are on food stamps and other public assistance to survive. In other words, American taxpayers like us, they support the workers of this richest corporation, Walmart Corporation. And its family is one of the richest family in the world. Its supply chain of clothes comes from several countries in Asia and Africa and Latin America, like Indonesia, Bangladesh, Guatemala, etc. There, in these countries, the workers are working under horrible condition. They continue harassing women workers. They subject them to sexual abuse, physical abuse, violence, verbal abuse, coercion, threats and retaliation, and forced overtime. These workers are forced to work like slaves in these countries. Walmart knows this, but it continues doing business with these companies. All of this for profit. So Walmart basically is contributing to violence, excessive working hours, unsafe workplaces, etc. It's a huge corporate criminal. It is getting away with this under our current economic system called capitalism. Another huge corporate criminal, a big corporate criminal, are some of the American banks, like Wells Fargo Bank and JP Morgan. Wells Fargo, up to 2018, undertook reckless lending practices, customer deception related to mortgages and auto lending. City of Sacramento, California sued Wells Fargo for intentionally steering African American and Latino workers and borrowers into high risk and high cost mortgages. In 2018, Wells Fargo was forced to refund customers for pet insurance, home warranties and other unwanted products, and reimburse customers for incorrect pricing and fees for foreign exchange transactions. February 2020, it was forced to pay $3 billion to settle criminal charges for widespread mistreatment of customers over a 14-year period. It opened millions of accounts in customers' names without their knowledge, created credit cards, forged their signatures, and secretly transferred customers' money in these other accounts, charged them fees, and it forces employees to meet these quotas to get these accounts opened. JP Morgan is the largest investment bank in the world, is largest lender to private prison and immigrant detention centers. Lot of prisons are privately owned in America for profit. More prisoners, more profit. America has the highest number of prisoners as well as highest percentage of prisoners in the world. More than 2 million of them are languishing in prison for non-violent small crimes like possession of few grams of marijuana or other drugs. JP Morgan is the largest financier to extreme fossil fuels, which are tar sands, Arctic oil, deep water oil, liquefied gas, coal mining and coal-fired power plants, all highly polluting enterprises. It funds them. And while talking about banks, in 2008, these 5 banks, Bank of America, Citibank, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan and Wells Fargo, they, in their greed, created toxic derivatives, sold them and got into trouble, and they started going bankrupt. They brought the whole world to the brink of economic disaster. Millions of people in this country and around the world lost their job, lost their livelihood, lost their homes. The world was on economic collapse. So they came to American government, and American government rescued them with $700 billion, which will be paid by you and me, American taxpayers, and our children and grandchildren. It is estimated that this will cost American taxpayers $72,000 each over the years. So this is what they do. And they, by the way, gave bonuses to their CEOs after this crisis was over for doing a good job. This is what they do. They get away with this kind of crimes, and government supports them. Their liability is socialized and profit is privatized. So talking about all these companies, one more item which will be very interesting. All these mega corporations they make billions of dollars of profit over the years, and they pay zero taxes. You and I pay more taxes than these mega corporations. For example, General Electric, a huge company, huge corporation, richer than many other countries of the world. A lowest paid worker at General Electric pays more taxes than General Electric. In 2015, 27 S&P 500 corporations earned billions of dollars and paid zero taxes. 2018, 60 S&P corporations earned billions, paid zero taxes. In fact, they made $79 billion. They should have paid $16.4 billion at 21% rate, very low rate. They paid zero taxes. Not only that, instead they got rebate from the government worth $4.3 billion. Government pays them. Amazon Corporation, a big, huge company, more than $800 billion worth, pays zero taxes. It earned $11.2 billion in 2018, did not pay any federal taxes. 100 companies in Fortune 500, same thing, made billions, paid zero taxes in 2018. And there's a huge list of these companies. Companies such as Starbucks, Chevron, Delta, IBM, FedEx, Intel, Goodyear, Nvidia, Netflix. These companies make billions and don't pay any taxes. Think about that. So this is what these corporations do. The government supports them. Government and these major companies are hand in glove. There is a nexus between them. And it is said that when the government and the business are together, that is fascism. So, question is, what can we do? What can you do? Well, we have one thing in our favor, we are the buyers. So if you stop buying from these corporations wherever possible, don't use their services, don't buy any products from them, they will be in trouble. So boycott them. If you have an account in Wells Fargo or other major banks, move it to your local small bank. If you are drinking Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola or products by Nestle, please avoid using their products. Find some alternative. So there are always ways of boycotting these companies, and unless we do, the democracy is participation by every citizen. It's not a spectator sport. We all can do something by our purchasing power. Boycott these rascals. And another thing you can do is write and meet your legislators whenever possible. And third thing you can do is spread the message. Please share this video with all your friends and family and ask them to do the same. More people will know, then there will be a movement of boycott. And if you want to contact me or if you want to buy my books, my contact is CA Humanity, that is CAHUMANITY@gmail.com. You can contact me at this email address. If you want to buy my books, you can contact me, or you can buy my books at amazon.com. Thank you very much. Until we meet again. Bye-bye.